The final Hammond collection video for this week is the Sinoceratops, the one large figure in this line. Here it is. This one, of course, is actually from a movie, unlike the novel figures we've covered previously. Even has the appropriate Fallen Kingdom logo, the little screen grab of this guy. In researching some comparison images for this, I discovered something really interesting, which we'll cover in this video alongside the figure review and the well, specifically we'll cover that alongside the comparison to some film screenshots because there's something really strange I noticed, but I think I know the real explanation for the strange thing and the in-universe explanation for the strange thing. So let's crack this guy open. Let's see what we got here. So yeah, you know how these works by now. You know, tail detached, guy in the box. This wave specifically, of course, having the extra little accessories you could switch out. The deluxe figure having an alternate jaw and alternate horn instead of just the one little piece. The hands or whatever. I guess that is actually two pieces for every figure, huh? Hands do come in pairs. Anyway, let me get this thing out of the box. All right, so we've got the secondary jaw. This is like the closed jaw, right? Painted beak on the bottom, painted tongue on the top. Then you pop the bottom open mouth version of the jaw out, put this one in, and it closes the mouth or whatever. Weird way to do it. Very strange decision. Like it's fundamentally the same as actually having like the hinge jaw, because either way you've got the awkward seam. I'm an enjoyer, at least on the non-theropod dinosaurs, of just not having a mouth articulation. I would rather the face look nice and consistent than have an ugly seam in it. I don't need to open a mouth. This doesn't matter to me. And so yeah, I'm a little off put by the decision to I just don't get it. I don't know why you put this like different style of mouth in here, because it's just no better. It's just a different bad option, I guess you'd say, at least in my opinion. Um, and then yeah, we have a intact horn versus the chipped horn that it comes with by default. This is the point I want to make when we talk about a comparison to the creature from the movie. This is the interesting thing I noticed: the horn. Then of course we have the tail, the big, thick, short tail section. This is an internal. This one is the not the bending wire, but the internal articulation. Like there's kind of an awkward little, you know, plastic spine or something in here. You can't get much mobility on this. Kind of limited. Also, very limited paint, with just the four stripes on the top there and nothing else going on at all. And then yeah, this is what the figure itself looks like. His legs came out of the package all kind of twisted up in crazy directions. With some pretty stiff joints, so I'm gonna have fun trying to get this guy to stand properly, I think, on 4 flat feet. Um, some interesting asymmetries in the frill that I kind of appreciate, coming from a paleontological standpoint, or like a maybe if I put my head to the side, you can see the shape of those frill holes. Like these frill holes are asymmetric, and I think they are in the film too, which is interesting. Of course, the original gestation of this concept of putting holes in the frill came from a Pachyrhinosaurus design from maybe Disney's Dinosaur or something like that, where it had a frill injury to one side and it had a hole, right? And then they kind of ran with that and turned it from an injury, an asymmetric injury, into like an actual feature of the animal, which is, you know, controversial, of course. But even like the little side horns, you have like one here that's like chipped off and missing versus an intact one on this side. These three horns here are somewhat asymmetric, at least at a glance, with one skewing more to the side than the other. And like that's kind of neat. This is probably coming from the film again, which is got some of these asymmetries in there, of course. But it's neat from like a paleontology standpoint, because the horn placement in the frill seems to float a lot in some of the animals. Like Styracosaurus famously is known for having a very wide range of horn placements, including asymmetric horns on the frill, because it seems that during development the horns are kind of free floating, and then at some point they kind of attach to the frill as the animal grows, and that's like their final position, which means they can end up in some funky arrangements if some damage happens to the animal's frill while it's growing, or just in general. And so it kind of makes me think of that. The irony, of course, of we're talking about paleo accuracy with one of the least paleo accurate designs in the entire franchise, because this animal is based off almost nothing. This started life in the franchise designs of a Pachyrhinosaurus of incredible inaccuracy, and then shifted into a Sinoceratops basically through just a name change and nothing else, which is a choice. Which, of course, is why we have a Pachyrhinosaurus in the original Mattel Fallen Kingdom line, because the merchandise is finalized before the movie itself is, because marketing. So yeah, that's a little history of this fella. The horns are kind of soft and flexible, which makes sense. They don't want things that are too pokey. That way, if kids are chucking their ceratopsian figures at each other, they don't put an eye out. I suppose that makes some sense. Quality control type things, other than the joints being a little awkward that I need to loosen up and adjust. The paint job seems pretty good. I mean, again, no glass eyes, painted eyes, but the eye placement on both sides of this figure seem pretty good. I said it in the last video, I'll say it again. I don't miss the glass eyes. In a lot of cases, they don't look right. They look dark and murky. Or the pupil placement is weird in such a way that, like, a lot of the time the pupil isn't even like you can't even see the pupil unless you're looking at the eye from the right angle. I've never been a fan of them, so I'm okay with this. Let's get the tail in here. This one, of course, is the hexagonal connector that's more typical of the larger figures, unlike the novel figures we looked at from before. So that makes some sense. The tail in this one is very stiff. The way it connects, like, the internal, like, ball socket joint does not let me do much with it. All right, well, there's a connected tail. Weirdly enough, the stripe here, the fourth stripe, actually is positioned in such a way where you only see it if you, like, really downturn the tail, which is weird. If you want it a little more horizontal, then that stripe goes entirely inside. And the tail is soft material, by the way, which is how I know there's that, like, plastic articulated skeleton or whatever inside. Yeah, sculpt seems all right to me. I was a little worried he's going to be a little thin. This guy's pretty chunky in the film, but actually having it out of the package in hand, it looks pretty much like what I would expect. I'll have to take another look at it when we compare more, but yeah. 4 toes in the front, 3 toes in the back, all painted. But not painted dew claws. The dew claw on the foot here, unpainted. I need to figure out these legs, because is this just twisted around backwards here? Because that looks weird. Or do I have another? Is this a case of a left-right, four-leg, rear leg type issue? No, okay, so that definitely should be. No, that is the correct orientation, because it has there's like a little pad on the back of the leg from, like, the ankle, so that is on each side. I just need to get the joints to actually go into a position that looks like anything. I'm going to pause and try to get these feet sorted out before we get into finer analysis. Yeah, so the joint flexibility in the legs is very poor. All my joints are very stiff. And then, like, the articulation options for, like, the hip here are pretty limited. You can kind of just move this, like, back a notch, forward a notch, and then you get, mobility in the ankle theoretically, but again, it's kind of ratchety, and then some movement in the knee. But again, like, with the fat thigh of this fella hanging over it, not much you can do. This foot here, specifically, completely frozen up, to the point where trying to move it, you can feel the plastic start to like, um, not like tear or give completely, but like you could tell that the only way you're gonna get that foot to move is by destroying it. Um, so, but I can put the one leg forward and the one leg back, and then get a mostly flat posture. Um, Enough to kind of make it work. Um, and yeah, the front limbs are largely the same, where like, honestly, I'm not even sure if this front shoulder, like there's a joint here in the shoulder, but I guess you can get it to go forward a little bit and backwards a little bit, but like very minimal actual options for posability there. And the feet like do swivel, like there is a side to side swivel here too, so I guess that's something, but you know, limited options. Maybe not that surprising, all things considered. Yep, well, there it is. uh, a little disappointing, little annoying, but here's the upside, right? Because the thighs are kind of recessed in the way it's made, while the posability suffers, I do feel like the profile of the animal is nice. Sometimes the hips on these figures stick out very, very far. You know what? The Rex. The Rex is like right here. Of course, this is a much earlier figure, but you get these like legs that kind of almost artificially stick out the sides. Doesn't make it feel real. So there's a bit of a trade-off there. And frankly, as a person who just puts these on a shelf and kind of just looks at them and never really touches them again, I'm okay with this. I just wish, you know, I didn't have some of these joints as frozen up so that I could actually get the feet to all touch the ground in a way that's flat instead of being like, I think the best thing I can do is have this back one look like it's kind of starting to rise off the ground a little bit. You know, the weight's on the tip of the toes instead of flat on the foot. Mid step, maybe slightly. I don't know. But yeah. Also, some paint issues on one of the nails on the forelimb here. A little blurry, but you could see the discolorization there. There's like, I don't know if it's the base plastic that's like blue or if it's got some blue paint from somewhere else, but the tip of one of those nails is blue for some reason. Like a baby blue. Very weird. Maybe it's from the packaging. Actually, it really feels like a plastic is chipped out. Yeah, this is definitely like physical damage. I don't know if I can get that onto the camera there at all, but it looks like there's some actual debris there sticking off of it a little bit, very, very lightly. Just slightly scuffed. Okay, so I said that there was an interesting discovery that I had made, right? So I was pulling up some reference images to look at. Now, the the packaging, of course, makes reference to the scene where the Sinoceratops walks up to Owen or whatever in Fallen Kingdom and like licks him in the face or something like that. Which is oddly enough a reference to the Lost World novel where a Stegosaurus does this to Sarah Harding. So that's kind of a weird thing to pull from a novel randomly like this. Maybe it's a coincidence, who knows? And you can very clearly see like the broken horn here, right? Not too much else to draw from this image other than kind of maybe the profile shot of the head. You see the two horns above the brow like this guy has. The horn is broken in the same way where there's kind of just the tip missing. And then like if the mouth was closed, we could kind of compare that, but I'm not going to take out the mouth and switch that out. The under profile of the animal maybe looks pretty okay with the knee and like elbow level kind of being right around the big fat hippo body level of the Sino. So yeah, that looks about right. If we look at another image from the scene, this is of course when it's like rearing up above them and you get kind of this 3/4 profile shot of the Sinoceratops. So when it comes to the toy, you can kind of compare that and see like, Yeah, the light patch on the face, the decorative elements of the frill are kind of all there. You've got like double splotches down here on the bottom part, and then like this ring right below the open fenestra on the frill above there. You've got the horns look different on the frill, right? Like the toy has two hornlets here and then two hornlets here. It looks like there should be three little ones on the bottom of the frill if I'm looking at this region here of this image. So that's potentially a difference. I mean, a small one to be sure, like negligible. Now, the interesting thing is, if you look at the next Sinoceratops scene we have in the film where it fights the Carnotaurus, also has a broken horn. And I think every Sinoceratops in the film franchise, not the show, but in the films, is this exact same broken horn Sinoceratops. Either through reuse of the CGI model, or possibly through it literally supposing it to be the exact actual same animal in every shot. I'm more inclined to think it's just kind of the reused CGI, but it's hard to tell. This shot gets you a good look at the horns on the top of the frill. You can kind of see maybe the asymmetry on these horns here that's kind of captured on the toy. And then we've got like a big horn, and then like looks like three more maybe there. And then I guess the broken one's maybe there if the broken one really is present on this image. And then yeah, these horns here that kind of loop towards each other. So I mean, like the placement of the horns on the frill looks pretty okay. There's another name for these, right? I can't think of it. For like the decorative elements on the outside ring of the frill. Well, I mean, in this case, they are horns, so I mean, horn is fine. And then, yeah, we've got like the jugal, cheek horn, whatever. Not much else to say here. I mean, you can see the whites, the white with the green ring, and then the outer white part and the orange around the outside, which does loop up and around the hole in the fenestra, which the figure has. So I mean, pretty good accuracy in that regard. Not much to look at with the body here. We look at another shot from the side. You get that wrinkly shot there that kind of evokes hippo a little bit. And another shot from the side. This horn here is actually looking pretty like green. Like it's distinctly colored on the figure, but like looking at the shots, yeah, it's kind of like blurred in, kind of greenish, which is a thing they could have done on the toy and not like painted it separately. Would have been an easy way for them to kind of cheat, skip some things, It looks like this horn here might be broken off, which is present on the figure. The tip of this frill horn here does have kind of a squared off edge. Might actually be a thing. Also, these ones appear, the two frill horns are kind of green. Are they green? Maybe. Yeah, they're just kind of greenish horns there, and they're given a more distinctive color on the figure. I mean, I like that the horns on the figure are painted this more consistent, caramely brown color or whatever across the whole thing. It makes them stand out more. It looks better aesthetically, I think, than having them be green. It's just weird to me noticing now that in the film they are like that. And yeah, I always associate the Sinoceratops as having this more arched back, whereas the figure is very flat across the top here. And I don't know if I have another good look at that, because here, of course, it is like mid-battle. It's like an action pose, so it could be a little bit. I think I do have another picture coming up we can compare again. But yeah, mid-action pose at an awkward angle, so maybe that arch is not typical there. And then yeah, again, at the end of the film, during the breakout scene at the very climax, broken horn Sinoceratops. So, like, is this the same guy? Does he like find Owen? Owen's escaping the lava. He catches back up to this during the stampede somehow at the gyrosphere, and then the Carnotaurus fights it, and then it like breaks off and runs away. and is somehow captured by the Ken Wheatley's crew who are leaving the island at that point. So they managed to somehow capture this guy at the last moment and bring him along. Even weirder still, the Sinoceratops in Dominion has a broken horn. Is it the same guy? Did this guy survive to the end of the franchise of the World Trilogy? And yeah, this shot is the one I was going to mention of like having a good look at the profile shot of the guy. Again, he's bending down to graze, which, if you had the figure bent down, then maybe the spine would arch more. But yeah, there's that curvature I associate with the Sinoceratops, which is not present in the figure with the raised head. Although the tail does droop down very low on the back end, which makes it feel like it should have that profile. This posture, I think, echoes the Triceratops figure a bit, which I don't have on hand. And yeah, no, the Triceratops, you can see it here on the tier list, does have an arched back. So this is not like a retool or redesign of like the Triceratops body. This is a new one that is just kind of very flat. Feels weird. We, of course, also have the render. So the promotional render based off the same animal gives us a better look at the horns. You can definitely see that hornlet there on the frill is broken. And there's 3 small ones and then a bigger horn on the side. So definitely this part of the frill, these lower horns, is not captured accurately. And then there's some flatter ones here that are missing too. Yeah, there's like 5 horns on the figure between the big horn and the curved horn. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this, but these 2 are pretty small. So I guess on the toy, they've kind of been like almost merged into one. It's minor enough that it doesn't really bother me. Also, the render, the frill horns do stand out more. Same with kind of the cheek horns. They're not as light as these other ones, but they're not just like green. So maybe a lighting thing with the film, more so than a different design here on the animal. 3 toes in the back, 4 toes in the front, so that looks good too in terms of accuracy. And not for like accuracy of actual ceratopsians, mind you, franchise accuracy, because the foot arrangement of these guys is awful. It's just rhino, which is not correct. Ceratopsians have pretty dainty front feet. They're like toe walkers. I would say the color palette of this guy feels a little off. He's a little too blue-green. Like this render is the color I associate with the Sinoceratops, of this much more like lighter green versus this very like saturated blue-green. And I think I don't have the example out, but I think the mainline Sinoceratops is much more like this lighter green. Which makes it a little weird that it's the color's kind of wrong on the higher tier figure. Another detail, the spine is very bumpy. It's got all these little bumps on it that makes it feel almost malnourished, like his spine is sticking out. But if you look at it from the top, I think there's supposed to be like a row of, like a lateral, like a centerline row of osteoderms. Where is that coming from? I don't see any evidence in like any of these shots of there being like a row of osteoderms along the spine. It's kind of weird. Like it's just like the back, like the spine of this guy is like this is the only part of the body that seems like it's not accurate. It's very strange. And the facial patterning is not quite right, I would say. Like the white patch reaches all the way up to the eye, whereas on this it starts to break up and then there's like a ring of white around the eye. Very nitpicky. It's pretty close. So yeah, I think I've talked off enough about this. Honestly, the most compelling thing about this whole thing was finding out that there's like one Sinoceratops in the entire film franchise. Oh, the stripes along the spine and tail. They aren't here. Do the stripes exist? Are the stripes an embellishment? I think the stripes are an embellishment. This guy's body is like completely plain. You know what? I want to look at the JWE model. Maybe the JWE model is part of the influence here. Because the spine on the JWE model is pretty flat. There is no osteoderms. I don't know where that's coming from. And it does have some subtle striping. So maybe this is the JW1 model. Maybe this did have some influence on that. This is probably based off at least an early version of the Sinoceratops render for the film too. So that could also be part of what's going on here, is being pulled from some concept art or early renders or something. In 2, I would say that it's got more of a curved back, less flat. Same with 3. Yeah, the flatter. I feel like the flatter spine is a GW1 thing. Huh. Yeah, I don't know. Kind of a weird thing. So not perfect accuracy. That's kind of the gist of this. This I've also I don't think I said this. I historically have been a bit of a Sinoceratops defender. I think I rated this guy kind of high in JWE2. Um, and I've defended this as like an unrealistic but fun embellished design, right? Like aesthetically, I said I found this animal pleasing, even if it is wildly inaccurate. I feel less strongly about this animal now. My Sinoceratops stocks have been dropping over time. I don't know if it's getting that gorgeous Loki Ceratops in GW3 or just kind of a general malaise on this design, but yeah, it has fallen off a little bit. Ooh, I noticed another thing here, quality control wise. Let's go back to the big camera. I didn't catch this initially. The paint job on the horns. What's a good angle on this? Yeah, let's do it like this. I think you can see. There's some bad paint splatter. You can see like this horn here, right? There's offset paint there. There's some of these horns have paint like here, it's stretching. This is really hard for me to do because I'm looking at the preview, but there's like paint stretching between the horns. Here is really bad, right there. You can see all that extra brown in there, maybe, to the point that it connects the two horns together. Very sloppy paint, actually, on some of those horns. It's see, the thing is, right, when you look at it from the front, it looks fine. It's when you look at it from the back that a lot of the bad paint on the frill is quite noticeable. So I almost wonder if that was a corner cutting thing of like, make sure it looks good on the front, who cares what it looks like on the back. Even here, next to this big horn next to my finger there, there's like just extra brown paint splattered. It's not even coming off of the horn. It's just an extra dollop of brown paint that's just sitting there. So a little sloppy in that regard. All right, let's rank this guy. Oh man, did I? Oops. Wait. Uh-oh. Hold on, technical difficulties. We're fine. We're fine. Deactivate this. Activate this. We're back. We're alive. All right. Okay. So yeah, tier placement. This guy cannot be an S tier. It's just not possible. Let's start by comparing this to the Triceratops. The Triceratops is better. I think I like the Galley as a figure more. The Corytho is kind of interesting. I like the novelty of having a JP3 Corytho figure. I think I'm going to put this between the Rex and the Cory. I think that's where it's calling to me. This is a B tier. I think that's correct. Because the Rex is like emblematic of the early line issues of like the oversized feet and like some other weird issues, oversized teeth. But it's still like a nice big Rex. There's still some merit to it, you know. And then we get to things like the Scudo and like the Dimetrodon. This is when we start to get to figures that are kind of underwhelming to me, mid B tier, right? So yeah, I think I'm pretty comfortable with this placement. Lower than I was expecting, but again, my interest in the Sinoceratops has dwindled for whatever reason over time. And I think like the joints are awkward, the paint is bad, like it's not like the color palette's weird. Like the patterning's good. I don't know. It's such a weird, they're like a weirdly mixed figure. It's like 70% of it is like pretty good in accuracy, and then like the other 30% is like a head scratcher. Like where are these bumps on the spine coming from? What about why the stripes? What's with the color palette being too blue? Like, yeah, I'm gonna lock it in there.